Okay, hey everyone. It's about 10:45, so we'll go ahead and get started. Hope everyone's been having a good DrupalCon so far on the first day. The keynote was exciting, and it was good to hear from Dries. So this is the Drupal Media session. My name is Dave Reid. This is Aaron Winborn, and we're going to kind of just duel and split this presentation into two parts. So without further ado, I'm just going to kind of hand this off to Aaron to kind of start the first part.
Hi everybody, my name is Aaron Winborn. I have been a developer with Avomatic for about 6 years and a contributor to Drupal. I'm one of the maintainers for the embedded media field, module, view, slideshow, media, YouTube, media Flickr, all the media stuff.
Well, and I guess I should probably introduce myself too.
Okay.
Before you go. So I'm Dave Reid. I work for Palantir.net based out of Chicago. And I'm probably most well known as the module hoarder because I maintain probably about upwards of 70 to 90 modules. I don't know how I do it, but I do, and media is one of them. So yeah, I'm excited just to be involved in this project, be working with Aaron. So again, I'll turn it over again.
First, I need to address the elephant in the room. This is not the one about uploading large files. I was recently diagnosed with ALS, which is more commonly known as Lou Gehrig's disease, and like Stephen Hawking. Unlike Mr. Hawking, I do not have access to universal health care or gobs of money, which means that chances are even that I'll die in a year or two, and if I'm one of the lucky 10% to live the decade, it'll most likely be in a locked-in state. I'm just saying that so that I need to make sure that I have help throughout the week. I need help lifting things like my laptop, opening doors, even feeding me during lunch. And most importantly, if you can click it, it's also affected my hearing, and so I apologize in advance if I'm having difficulty hearing you. But if you want to speak with me, which I definitely want to talk to people during the week, please make sure that I can see you speak, or at least provide subtitles. So without further ado, though, let's talk about the media module. Let's talk about the goals, what the media project has been going for over the last few years. The first goal is unified media file management. This has been a principle guiding us since the beginning. It's been a really big mess in Drupal, as many people know, for dealing with media. We've been looking for a way to treat all media and file streams the same from the perspective of the Drupal database. This goal allows us to store and to access image files from the same place as YouTube streams, for instance. The next goal is files as fieldable entities. What does that mean? Well, that's, by accomplishing this, it allows us to add a field to a file which has become a first-class Drupal citizen right along with nodes, comments, users, taxonomy. This allows us to for instance, we can tag taxonomy terms right onto the file itself and display it with wherever it's embedded in line or as a field.
Another useful case for fields on files, which we used recently in Palantir, is having a date field on a file as like a publication window, saying that this site can only use this file starting 2 weeks from now, and they are only authorized to use it for 1 week. So we store that as a date field on the file, and it works.
Next would be a single browser for editorial control. This is the UI side of the media module. This is where things are exciting for the user, or at least for the editors. They get to have one unified GUI that is the same across whether it's on the administration side or selecting a field or selecting a file in a field. You'll have thumbnails for all your images, YouTube and video, audio, whatever, all right there in the browser itself, which you'll see in a few minutes. And then what you see is what you get. It's the same browser. It really works really well. This allows editors to embed media anywhere they have a text area. Ensures the file structure is the same everywhere, allowing, for instance, a caption field to be displayed with the image, whether it's part of the field or embedded in node content somewhere. Thanks. And let's not forget about views integration. A long-standing goal of the Media Initiative has been to allow the browser to be built and modified using views, so that with the editor, the browser on the side of the editor, we can have a new tab and be able to filter your files by the taxonomy term or by the UID owning the file, or whether it's a YouTube video or whatever. You can just create a new tab on the fly with views and add it straight on there. You have all the access of all the power views, like exposed filters and whatever all. So what was handling media prior to Drupal 7 like?
That's pretty true.
Let's talk about this. For a long time in Drupal, the only reasonable way to handle media was as an attachment to a node, largely using the upload module. The upload module has been retired for Drupal 7, hooray. The other way would have been to attach, to embed media directly in by opening up your filters, which is not a good thing. I hope nobody's actually doing that. Then before we had CCK, there were 3 modules that were created that occupied an awesome namespace: image, video, and audio. They become the go-to solution for anybody wanting to attach images, audio, or video into their site. Unfortunately, they were largely 4.7 solutions, which created a node around each media instance, which on the one side has all the power that node brings, and on the other side has all the baggage that comes along with nodes. Now, to be fair, the video and the audio modules have both recently been overhauled, and so they now expose themselves to CCK, integrating, at least with the video module, is integrating with file field now. But let's go on. So along came CCK. I think we skipped a slide. There we go. Along came CCK, which that gave us fields, which allowed us to attach our media to field, which does open up a lot of new possibilities, and it opened the way for developers to come in. And so we had file field, image field, embedded media field, video field, audio field, and that got us close to where we wanted to go, but it still didn't allow us to separate the media content from the node. So there was no unified API for storage, access, or display.
Yeah, they were all just kind of doing their own thing.
Every module largely handled its own file or media storage, sometimes even modifying the core files table for their nefarious purposes. Let's go on. The situation has slowly improved, allowing at least some way of embedding media inline to content with the WYSIWYG and related modules, including some hybrid solutions like OEmbed, which was created for the White House, and NREM browser, along with node reference, embedded in inline media. So basically, there were ways to do what we wanted with media. I guess that's the point I'm trying to make, is that prior to Drupal 7, we had easily a dozen or 2 dozen fairly good modules, all tackling the same problems from a different direction. And it was a real mess for anybody wanting to figure out, what do I use and how do I get media into my content.
Well, and it was a fun process because you get it all set up for how you want to work with images, and then, oh, well, we want to add YouTube videos to our site too. And you have to go back and install 3 more modules, configure it up, and it's just an exhausting process.
Yeah. So it's not a good situation for developers in Drupal 6. And it's even worse for the administrators, the end users, with no unified experience and a complicated UI. We've barely scratched the problems with Drupal 6 in media, and there are some very interesting and creative solutions, such as Media Mover for handling media across servers for processing, storage, and display. So let's jump ahead. In 2008, I had just published Drupal Multimedia, and Arthur Fulsha sent out a plea to several established developers in the media realm. He basically, he had a vision where, let's go ahead and click it. He proposed a 2-tier API to handle a mess. One side of this would be a resource manager for creating a unified data storage for media content, and the other side would create an extensible browser for editors. Having such an API would allow developers to more easily plug into the work without needing to reinvent the wheel for every solution. He initially called it Rich Media GUI or RIMEG, and after the first or second sprint in New York, we settled on the name of Media. Robert Douglas donated the namespace, and that began this process over the last 4 years now. So there was a flurry of initial activity. There was a lot of excitement in the community. The original proposal was sent out to about 5 or 6 developers, and we had about 2 dozen people by the end of the year that were involved in the project. We called it the ongoing media sprint. We met several times throughout 2009. We added some patches to Drupal core for an improved file API and stream wrapper registration system. And let's go ahead and switch. Thanks. We had a large number of sprints over the last few years now. We've had sprints that have been sponsored by several companies, including Avamatic, ZivTech, Acquia, Palantir. We had Civic Actions and Sony.
Lots of people.
Denver Open Media.
Yeah.
the Drupal Association. Yeah, it's been a lot. I mean, so many people that have been involved now too. I don't even want to name everybody. You can look on the project page if you want to look at the list of maintainers, or hopefully a large number of you are here today. I don't know everybody by face, but yeah, we had D7UX, the Drupal 7 user experience, jumped in at some point, and they created some mock-ups which helped to visualize where we were headed. You can switch to the next slide. And yeah, so I've already talked about a lot of this. This brings us to the present day, where we have the unofficial media initiative that Dave is headed up. We also have Thomas Svensson has joined us today, and he is doing a lot of work behind the scenes too, for getting people in the media, the bug squad.
So yeah, it's helpful to get a good perspective on this vast history of where we've been, because we've got to understand our history to know what can we improve on today. So that's kind of where we are now. We've had a lot of big momentum pushed into the module. Acquia with Drupal Gardens and the Drupal 7 usability, that really got a nice big push and got the module into beta for Drupal 7. And then a bunch of us at Palantir got involved too. We were starting to use a lot of media clients with public media, American public media, and getting involved with that. And we're like, hey, why don't we help out too? So last September, we organized a sprint in Chicago, and we kind of made another really huge push. It was great to have everyone out there too. So what we're going to kind of head into now is the fun stuff that you get to see what you actually get to use now and can install yourself. So, I mean, yeah, we're taking advantage of all these improvements to Drupal 7 and pulling it all together. And so now we have the new version of Media. And this part of the presentation contains more cats, too. So as a result of the sprint in Chicago that we had last fall, we finally pushed the module out of the beta status, and we're now in release candidate. It kind of sucks that it's been so long since Drupal 7.0 came out, and that we would still be in beta, but we're starting to finally get into a stable status. And hopefully, we're having a little sprint on Friday, which you may see mentioned a couple of times. And hopefully maybe we'll get a 1.0 release out then, which would be really nice. But one of the other major things that came out of the sprint in September was that we had a lot of really cool improvements that we wanted to make, but we didn't really want to delay an official release, cause more breakage, make more upgrade pains for people. So this is where we started making another version before we even finished the first one. A lot of people might be like, why'd you guys do that? It just made sense to us. I don't know. But I'll kind of help distinguish the two right now. So there's a 1x version and a 2x version. The 1x, like I said, is in a release candidate phase. And the 2x version right now is unstable. It's a nice, great name to show, hey, we're working with crazy stuff here. You want to try it out? Sure. But you're kind of on your own. We have a little wiki page linked there, which will have the presentation linked on the session page too, with all these links that you can click on, that kind of details some of the differences between 1x and 2x. Basically, 1x right now is feature locked, so we're not adding anything new to it. We're basically only fixing bugs. And so new stuff like views integration, changing the way the UI works, that's all going to go in the 2x version. I will add a note that those adventurous people that do like hot sauce, we're using the 2x version in production right now because we're crazy. But also, if anything breaks, I'm kind of on the hook for it at Palantir, so I'll fix it if something breaks. So that kind of helps differentiate the two versions. So if you need something stable that you want to launch a site and you maybe don't have the time to dedicate to keeping up with updates, that kind of thing, totally just use the 1x version of Media. It's great. It's got most of the features that are in 2x. It's just going to not get the new stuff. So.
Yeah, and I'd like to point out that that you don't necessarily have to be scared of 2x, that there are a lot of production sites using it.
I just try to be overly cautious with people. So, but if you have the resources for it, go ahead. And kind of, we wanted to add another goal to the Media project out of the sprint. Denver's a green city, and we wanted to make the Media module green as well. Because we had, this Media library that was written. And it lists files and displays them and filters them. But it was all code we had written ourselves in the module. And so we get to thinking, there's a module out there that does this job really well of listing things and filtering things. Why don't we just use that? And to be fair, with the work that Acquia did with Drupal Gardens, views at that time was not at all ready either. So that was a business decision they made, and they had to make it, and I don't blame them at all. And so what we basically did in the sprint was convert the Media browser, which you'll see in not too long, to basically just be powered by views. So we added some filtering capability, and we didn't really change that much, from what you see, but the underlying part is just kind of really nice because you can add stuff to it, and you can change it. You can add another tab based on a view. You can have multiple tabs for views. So it's just, we're trying to keep this new goal of not trying to write our own code if something else does it well, and reusing it. It's something we like, we're trying to use with Core and Symfony too. Let's just use it. It does what we want to do. Let's integrate it. And we can learn from each other and improve. So this is kind of what the Media stack looks like right now. So at the bottom of the pyramid, we've got Drupal 7 core. We've got stream wrappers, file entities, all that good API stuff, file and image fields. And so for the Media stack, we have a CTools dependency. So that's kind of the next level. And then we have what's called the file entity module. And so what this does, it's kind of more of an API to help round out what Core does with files and make it more reusable, because it used to be included in the Media project itself with 1x, but for 2x we moved it out into a separate module so that other modules can use it too. It seemed kind of silly to hold on to that module just for ourselves. Why not share it? So we moved it out to its own separate project. Then the next level, we have the views integration, which is new for 2x as well. On top of that, we kind of have Media, which brings everything below it together, and it provides the UI, the Media browser, the widgets, the WYSIWYG integration. And then, of course, you have all the extra stuff like Media YouTube, all the extra Media modules that integrate with the base Media module that are separate, that kind of just put the cherry on top. So kind of want to explain a little bit more what file entity does, because that's kind of somewhat of a confusion. Basically, it provides the API and the UI for viewing, editing, and deleting files as themselves. So you can go to file/1, file/1/edit, file/1/delete. And it also provides a way to manage the fields for file types, which right now are defined as kind of standard audio, image, video, application for stuff like PDF. And this also allows files to easily be extended since we provide a UI for this file entity. So people can do translation with files. You can enable rules with files. There's lots of cool stuff. We've got a few to highlight that we later. So what does it not do? It does not allow you to change how those file types are defined. This is something that we have on our goals to be able to let you change. But for the most part, people just, a PNG file, that's always going to be image. A .mov file, that's always going to be a video. So for most people, it's fine, but there are advanced use cases where you want to change that. We want to provide a file access API, because there's currently not really any. You have to give your user role the edit files permission, which allows them to edit any file on your site, which is not ideal at all. So that's one of the big things we want to push on our sprint on Friday. And we also don't really want to suck at performance, because right now there's a fun bug that every time an image is displayed using the file entity module, it has to read the image completely. So if you have a remote image, it has to read the image and fetch its dimensions, and that information is not stored somewhere. So we're going to fix that. And it's also not in core, which is, again, one of the things that we want to do for Drupal 8, is we kind of want to put these API improvements in. It'll help others reuse it and help maintain the media module better. So what does Media do? Again, it provides the unified UI for managing your files. You can upload new files using Media. You can also do a mass import, point it to a directory, and Media will suck all the files down from that directory, save it to its local directory, and save records for them. So it's kind of nice for new sites if you just have a large group of PDF files or something. It does the integration with WYSIWYG, which we'll get to see. And it also provides an API, so if you want to write your own browser plugin, you can do that. We wrote one for Palantir to work with a remote data source and asset management software, so the users can select, oh, I have this video in our remote software that hasn't been used yet on this site. Let's use that one. And it pulls it in. And it also provides a way for, to integrate with Flickr. All those will provider modules too. And this is the fun part of what we don't do yet either in Media. If you're not using images, it can be a little bit frustrating. If you're working with audio and video, it takes a little bit of work. I'll be honest about it. Because there's no way to display those files other than linking to them right now. So currently we recommend using something like OEmbed or MediaFront or MediaElement to help an HTML5 audio or video tags for those. That helps round those out. If you want to put those audio and video files embedded in with WYSIWYG, it's also a little bit rough right now. It works great for images, works great, but it's still a little rough. Being able to control more of the WYSIWYG stuff, we need to work on it. We need to make it easy to configure because it's about like 5 steps right now, and it's really hard to walk people through that. And they often miss a couple of steps and then get frustrated. And we don't have it well documented either. And that goes along with usability too. We need to do some usability testing. We know we're at fault. Like, we're not perfect. We know that. And we have a lot of work to do. So we're honest with ourselves. We have a lot of things wrong. We want to fix them. So here we go. We got some demos on what you can actually do with Media right now. So this first video is going to be just basically configuring how you get Media to work on an article content type, how most people use it. So we've got our demo site here, and this is an article. Sometimes I'm kind of slow when recording these. But so to add a field, you go to your structure and your content types. And we hit Edit, Manage the Fields on Article. And so this is the Drupal 7 core field interface. So we're going to add a new file field. So we give it a label, and we give it a little machine name too. So just a files field. So we select the file field type, and the next selection box is the widget type. Now core provides a file widget itself, but Media provides this media file selector. That's the one you want. That's where all the magic happens. So here it's going to create the field for us. And this is a really fun, like 3-step process that we weren't happy about that we had to put into core. This is not Media's doing, this is just Drupal core. But people are working on making this part more usable in the multiple steps. So here we're actually editing the field, and so there's a couple of important things. When you have that media widget, you get a browser plugins. You get to select which ones appear. And if you don't select them, they all appear. But if you wanted people only to upload files, you could just only check upload. It works out nice that way. There's allowed file extensions for uploaded files. So that doesn't apply to anything remote. That's only for things that are new and uploaded. So we put some standard extensions in there. If you had a remote provider like Flickr or YouTube, you'd want to make sure to check the video in the allowed remote media types. This is something people commonly miss here. And then there's also a allowed schemes section. So if you wanted to restrict it to only YouTube, you could do it here. But we're just going to allow a few things. We like being open. So that's kind of the important settings for the media widget. We're going to make it a limited field. So there's our new field. We got files right there. We're going to drag it up above the body and just make it easier. And you'll see we have an image field too. You can actually use the media file selector with core image fields as well. And really there's no big deal. You can use them both. So here's the Manage Display tab for these fields. And so we've got our files field, and we have to select how they're displayed. So we're going to select rendered file, which means it's going to, this is the file entity way of displaying it. And it basically works like node reference and user reference. It gives you a view mode to pick from. So we're going to pick large, I think is what I did. Because that's also an important step that we have a lot of people miss, is you can't, once you've added the file, you can't forget to configure how it's displayed. Otherwise, it just kind of won't show up. So here we're editing, and this is what media provides, this little select media button. And here's the magic. There's the media browser. So we've got upload, web, and our new views-powered library. So there's, the filtering in views. I can change how it's sorted so I can see the ones that I've uploaded last, the most while ago, because that's where all my cat pictures are. And views does its thing just right in there in Ajax, and I can pick an image. There's my cat Rodney. And there it's put a little preview of how I've selected it. And, I can hit the remove media, and it'll cancel that selection. I can go in and select something else. We'll do a bad image. I hate these devel generate images. And we can add another image to this field. We'll take some questions right after the demos. So that's kind of how the media widget browser works. And you can add your own browser tabs. It's a little confusing how to code it, but it's possible. So then we're going to save this node. And since I didn't configure to display it in the teaser view mode, I don't see it there. But here it's displaying the node, and hey, there's my image. It's my file and my cat. So that's how we use the widget. All right, and this next one is going to be using a remote video, so a YouTube video. So I've got the same content type, my same field. I selected that YouTube was allowed and remote video was allowed. So I've got a YouTube, just an URL that I copied in my browser's location bar, and I'm just going to paste it in there. I don't need to know the ID. I just copy paste and hit submit. Boom, there it is. It's even copied the name of the file from YouTube for me, so I don't. Yeah, see. So it works. It works the same way as local files as YouTube files. And I see it down there, and there's me gift wrapping my cat. He was a sport. He put up with it. Took a couple of treats. I couldn't do it with my other cat. She'd kill me. So yeah, that's how you'd work with remote stuff. I don't know what I did there. All right. So, exactly, it's a unified UI. You'd work the same way with YouTube, same way with Flickr pictures. You just copy paste the URL, and it just works. It pulls in the file name from Flickr, and it just it works. It's great.
And one thing I want to point out, too, is that it also works with the image field in core, too.
Yes, it does work with the image field in core. So you could use Flickr with image field. So here we're going to do a short demo of how you add fields to a file and how you would edit that data. Because this can be kind of confusing. And we're still working on the usability of this process. So for Media WYSIWYG, you would go into your configuration section, and there, under the media, there'd be a file types link, but we just moved it in the 2x version back under structure. So, oh wait, this is WYSIWYG. Okay, this is configuring the WYSIWYG. Sorry. So when you're configuring your WYSIWYG for media, you have to first enable it as a text format. So you have to go to your text format. So this is full HTML. We've made sure that we have that convert media tags to markup checked. That's the first step. And then there's a second step where we actually have to enable the media button in the WYSIWYG configuration too. So we're back and we hit our WYSIWYG profiles. Under our full HTML, we edit that. This is just using the WYSIWYG module with the CK editor library. It's not using the CK editor module, it's the WYSIWYG module. So there we enabled the media browser button. It's going to be the only one. It's going to be kind of lonely, but that's okay. Now if we go back to our content, I love those contextual links in Drupal 7. It's handy. So here we've got our body field. I make sure that I have full HTML selected in order to use the WYSIWYG. And there we go. And there's our media button. And again, you get the same UI here for selecting files. You see all of the browser tabs here because we can't configure that yet. But I'm just going to select a file from the library. And here you get an option on how to embed this file. So again, this is using the view modes. So we're going to select large. And boom, there's that image embedded in our WYSIWYG. And now I'm going to make some typos. So pardon my typing. But it's just nice that it works consistently. So you get the same UI in the WYSIWYG. And again, we're working on figuring out how to get audio and video embedded properly. Sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it does work. The goal is to make it all work. So there we go. I click on the node, and there's our embedded media. It just works in the body. So for configuring fields on a file, we go to structure and to file types. So again, in 1x, it would be under configuration and media. I just wanted to make that clear. In 2x, it's under structure. But once you get there, it's the same thing. See, here's our different file types. We've got application, audio, image, text, video, and other. These kind of map to the default MIME types of files. So image, PNG images, it's image/PNG, so it'd be an image file type. So here we're going to add a credit text field to our image, because usually images have credits for who took the image. That's pretty popular for most sites that are using media. And we're also going to add a tags field, because why not tag an image? It's fun. I'll skip ahead a little bit. So there we've got our two fields, credit and tags. And again, you want to make sure they are configured to display on your view mode. So by default, they're hidden on anything but default. So I may drag them up to make sure they're displayed. That's the tricky steps to this. So we've got my content again. I'm going to go in and edit. And now I'm going to get to show you a new feature that's in the 2x module, is this edit media button, which kind of helps make this usable. So it just pops up a modal, and I'm now editing the fields on that file directly from the node. And once I hit save, those things are saved. I could just cancel out of the node editing. Those changes are made. So I'm filling in the fields. And sure, it looks a little ugly, but we're going to work on cleaning it up. And so now all those changes have been saved. And I'm just going to go back and view this node again. Because I've selected that rendered file, how to display this field, it's now going to also include the fields for that file. So there we go. I see that I've got my media, I've got the credit, and I've got the tags for that file, all included. So it's actually kind of nice. You can just easily display captions just right there underneath the image. So.
And that would affect an image no matter where it was placed, like if you reuse that image elsewhere.
Yeah, if you reuse this image, the fields are going to stay the same. We're working on a use case to be able to, say, override an alternate text on one node versus another node. You'd want to be able to change that. But for the most part, you want to use fields for data that's going to be the same on that file no matter where. So like I said with the publication window, that's going to be the same for that file no matter where it's used. So. And one more thing to show, I believe. This is going to be kind of what file entity displays and how you would manage the files themselves. So if you go to content, there's actually a files tab. And it now lists all the files that have been uploaded on your site in a nice little table. Shows you what type of file they are, what size, who uploaded it, when it was last used. So I've got my cat picture, and I'm going to just view that file as its own thing. So again, we can see that it has the fields on there, and I can edit this file. A note, you can't actually edit the file itself right now. You can only edit the fields. And I can go and delete it too if I wanted to. It tells me a little warning if, hey, that file's being used, you might not want to delete it. A cool thing, if you have the multi-form module enabled, you actually get a little edit multiple files operation, which is kind of nice for bulk things if you want to edit 10 at once. And it gives you, it just puts all the forms together, and you can hit save, and it updates multiple files at once. So that's the multi-form module that does that there. So again, you can delete it. And so Media actually adds on to this and gives you a thumbnails page, kind of like what the media browser looks like, but kind of, instead of a listing, it's thumbnails. So you can do the same thing. You can edit and delete from that screen. So it's just nice to be able to see what those files are. So it's handy. And another thing that the file entity module adds for 2x only is this nice little add file section. So it kind of is like the media browser, but its own separate thing. So if you just wanted to upload some files, you could just do it here. Or if you wanted to add a YouTube video, but just to have later, you could do it from here. And it's just kind of nice. Once we get a nice access API built in, you can say, yeah, this person can upload files, and they can access this page right here. So that's just kind of a nice thing for editors, too. And then one last short video. We've been talking about the Views browser, and so we just want to show you that you can change it if you want to. So if you have the Views UI module enabled, you'll see a media browser view, and you just edit. And unfortunately, you can't change which fields are displayed right now, but you can add filters, you can add sorts, you can expose those filters. So we're going to add a filter for tags, because we want to find all of our cat pictures. Of course, I do. So we expose that filter, give it a nicer label too, hit save. And so now if we go back to our media browser, we'll be able to just see that. So you can add, if your editors want a different filter, hey, we want to see things that we want to add our date field to the exposed filter, you can do that. So there's our tags right there, and it just works. So yay, views. So yeah, there we go. That's kind of the overview of what you can do with media right now, and kind of some of the pitfalls and steps that people have when configuring it too. And so now I know I said we'd take questions after the demo, but we'll take them at the end too. So we want to make sure we get through everything else. Some cool things that are also going on in the media ecosystem, not just the media module, but things that other people are working on. We're going to highlight a few of those that we find really interesting. There's a full wiki page there too with like lots of stuff that people are working on. One of these modules is the Plupload module. So it's an HTML5 uploading library with Flash fallback that allows you to do multiple files all at once, upload progress. We're working on integrating it properly with media. It does work from that little add file place already, but it doesn't work in the media browser. So we're working on that. But it's a very cool project. We're looking forward to helping it along. There's the OEmbed module. So typically you've had separate modules for each of your remote providers like Flickr, YouTube, Vimeo. The OEmbed module is actually really interesting because it's an open standard that sites are using to describe what that video is about, the name of it, so that you don't really need a separate provider. You can just use OEmbed and it will fetch that data and return it back. And it's actually used on Drupal Gardens right now, and it helps really enable, oh, I want to support this random video provider now. And there's a service called Embedly that could possibly do it. So it's nice to be able to provide support for lots of different stuff. But if you just need a specific one, like YouTube, just using the Media YouTube module works just great too. There's the remote stream wrapper that I wrote. It's another one of the 90 modules. It allows you to actually link to files and leave them on the remote server and not bring them into your local Drupal install. So it's useful for like stuff that's on CDNs. If you just want to pull in external stuff, there's lots of really weird use cases, but it's fun. And one of the interesting things for remote images, it can actually generate local image styles. So in Drupal 7 core, you could make a thumbnail version of that remote file. It'll store that thumbnail locally, but keep the original source on the remote server. It's cool, and it has its own little media browser tab too. There's the Derivatives API project, which was a Google Summer of Code from last year, which is really neat because it's designed to be flexible. Like, I've got a .mov file, I want to transcode it into this different service and upload it to YouTube, and it does it all through rules. It's still a work in progress, but it's really exciting to see. There's the media update and translation modules that Achieve has been working on. They currently only work for Media WYSIWYG, but if you want to like replace the actual file data of a file record, you can do that. Or if you want to translate your files, it works for that. Cool module that's being used on Drupal Gardens recently is Media Crop. So when you embed an image in the WYSIWYG, you'll actually, if you right-click on it, you get options to like crop it or rotate it. You apply an image style to it, which is really handy. Lots of people like to use this, so it's a cool thing to see. Yeah, we're excited about that one too. Travis Tidwell is working on the MediaFront module, which is kind of another way to display audios and videos with HTML5. I encourage people to give it out a try. It's really themable, has playlist support. It's a cool project. Also, we have the MediaElement module, which I'm I like it a lot. It's an external library like MediaFront to display audio and video in HTML5 with backwards support. And so I like using that one too. So that's kind of some of the cool things that are going on in the media space. So what we have left now is kind of where we're headed in media. And so one of the things that we kind of decided on as maintainers at the sprint back in Chicago last September was that we kind of wanted to form our own little group. Because Drupal 7, Drupal 8 core, you probably heard about it in the keynote, has the concept of initiatives. There's an HTML5 initiative. There's a translation initiative, led by someone and for the purpose of encouraging development and improvements. And we're like, we kind of want to do that, but just with the media module and like all the other modules that work with media. That seems like a good idea, right? Yeah. So we kind of scoped it out in Chicago, and we all, of course, got really busy. But it's starting to pick up more steam now. We have a wiki page where kind of it helps define the goals. I'll just quickly go over them. Because one of the things we wanted to prevent was development of media module feeling like this, which it could, because it's like, I want to help contribute something to media, but who do I talk to? Is it really going to get in? No one's going to look at my patch. I'm just going to hit a brick wall. Why even bother? And we totally don't want to have that happen. That's not true at all. We want it to look like this. It's like, there's a wide open road. We're going to run on it. You can help us go. You can add some gas to the tank. We're just going to keep moving on. You can join on if you want. We got an open road. And one of the things that helps is we actually now have a formal roadmap for the module, which kind of just helps define our goals, the major improvements that we want to make. And so other people can see that and say, oh, I want to help with that feature. And it just goes from there. We also wanted to do this because we wanted to have better communication, not only as maintainers of the module, but also between the community too, people that were interested in Media Module. So we're actually having meetings every 2 weeks in IRC in the Drupal Media channel. And it's open to anyone. I'd encourage you to join if you can figure out how to join IRC. And we just use it to talk about what we're working on this week, our goals, major blockers, things that are coming up. So I'd highly encourage you to join in. And it's also trying to get new people involved too. You may be the cat that's hovering in the sink. You don't want to pop out. But we want you out of the sink and playing around with media. And it's also kind of our way to make a commitment as media maintainers, saying that, yes, we will be here, we'll listen to issues, we want to get you involved, we want to involve everyone, not just ourselves. It's kind of a pat on the back, but we think it's important. Because especially, we don't want whoever has the most time and the most money to be kind of doing their own thing and going off and doing their own thing with media. We want to make sure everyone's involved, because it's happened in the past, but we want to keep it as a community project, community-led, community-driven. And part of this is we now have a media bug squad based on the Views bug squad. And Thomas Svensson is leading that effort, and people are getting involved in the queue, and it's a good way to kind of get more familiar with media, because you could just kind of dive into the issue queue a little bit. No, I couldn't reproduce this issue. So if you find Thomas, you can ask him about the Media Bug Squad. And so how else do I become a member? Well, really, you just become a member by getting involved. There's no formal, oh, secret handshake, you're now accepted into the media initiative. We're involved in lots of places. We have our project. We have a group on groups.drupal.org. We have a website, which we're going to get up and running. We are in IRC, and we're also having a sprint on Friday. And we kind of need some specific areas of help. People that are familiar with JavaScript, usability, documentation, people that like writing or testing things. We would love to have your help. We're having a sprint on Friday. And one last thing I'd like to cover is what will media look like in Drupal 8? Because it's kind of a little bit of an unknown right now. There might be a core initiative, an official, not an official unofficial, but an actually official media initiative. It might be a subset of our little initiative. But it'd be important to communicate with other things like an HTML5 initiative or a WYSIWYG. Keep that communication open for what we need for media handling. And we recognize we have a long way to go still, but we're making progress. We're getting there. Still a long way to go. So kind of for Drupal 8, what we'd like to do, and if you'd like to hear more about this, I'm having a core conversation tomorrow in the morning about Drupal 8 and media. But basically, we want to put some improved APIs into core. So basically taking that file entity module and the file edit and administration pages, moving that into core, and allow you to put fields on files. And we can keep working on the media module in contrib, working on the usability, working on the UI of it, because we know it's not great, but we need to make some improvements. So we'd like to keep working on that and really put it into core once we are feeling really good about it. So we don't want to really rush it in, because it's okay to download a module. It's fine. So again, we'd really love to have you get involved. We're looking to also sprint on Drupal 8 involvement on Friday, so we'd love to have you. Some credits for our presentation, and we're about wrapped up. Do we have any questions? There's a microphone right in the middle there, so if you'd have a question, it'd be great if you could go up to that.
Yeah, please.
Okay, everyone's so polite. Anyway, my question might be a little specific, but I was really excited to see just what all you're putting into the 2.0 version of Media, since it's really much more extensible, particularly with the views integration, than Media 1 was in my experience. I'm wondering, so you'll still have the MediaElement or MediaFront as the primary means of displaying videos.
Correct.
But I'm curious about, in Drupal 6, we had embedded video field or whatever, and then you could have a thumbnail of, say, a YouTube video, and you could display that in a view, say, if it was a content listing. I'm wondering, will there be that kind of capability as like an alternative view mode for a video?
So the question is, how do you get like thumbnails of remote files like YouTube and stuff? That capability is actually in the modules like Media YouTube. It'll generate the thumbnails for you. It was actually in the demo video. That little preview was generated by the module, and OEmbed also does that too. Oh. So it's just part of the native functionality for those remote providers.
So that's integrated with views then in Media 2?
I think there's a patch to be able to display the file itself that we're working on, but yes, it will be.
Yeah, I think that was the main thing. I mean, I knew you could display it in the node. It was more with views, but thanks.
Yep.
I was just going to say that, hold on. Oh, I can turn that off. I was just going to add that the Media YouTube module specifically will download a local copy of the image.
Yep.
And so it's available to image styles for resizing and whatever. It just displays it as a local file.
Yep. All right, next question.
I also want to thank you for all the work you've done, and I've been playing with the 2.0 branch also. Is there a reason why the file scheme is not supported?
What do you mean by file scheme not supported?
So you've got HTTP and you've got public and private, but the actual file you can't use file : whack whack to get a local file on your server.
Probably because there's just not a stream wrapper that implements it yet.
And where would I go if I wanted to do something on that? If I wanted to enable that?
I would probably have to talk to you later, because I think just a stream mapper would have to be written for it, and that would just, like the remote stream mapper actually implements HTTP and codes for that. So I think it's just something would have to be written for that.
Okay.
And support it. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hi. This may be somewhat a loaded question here, but great work on the stuff so far. Going through your demos, even for the 2.0 branch of the project, the user experience for the site admin seems to be not ideal, let's say. I mean, like there's, and from personal experience too, it's rather convoluted to get, when your use case is, I want to get images and I want to build something that's not an image gallery and I want to do something that's not a one-time embed on a page. If I wanted to use some sort of semi-repeatable, but not a field on a node type, use of images or video or whatever, to get that to to get from that thought to rendered images on a page consistently is an arcade process that involves multiple pages of lookup on group stud, on GDO or on issue queues. Yep. And I guess this is two questions. So like one is, who's leading the UI UX of the admin side of media, and what can we do to improve it?
So the question is, what are we doing for usability for the content editors? We're actually starting a usability process, a formal process with some Acquia usability engineers and the Drupal usability team. We're going to be doing some testing on how that process is actually used by site admins and content editors, and what we will need to change in order to support it for them. So there's a bunch. I would encourage you to get involved in the meeting, because we discussed it a bunch last Thursday and how to get involved. So.
Thanks.
Yep. I think we have time for one more. If there's any more questions, I'm totally around the conference. I'm at a core conversation. We have a BOF on Wednesday or Thursday that's media related, so you can totally come to me then. So,
very
yes.
quick question. You mentioned there's a module for handling the translation.
Yes.
And I missed the name of it.
It's the media translation module. Nice
That's
and
it?
easy.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much for coming. Enjoy the rest of the conference.